Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Today in the rLounge, we're diving into the holy trinity of dysfunctional parenting. Control disguised as concern, entitlement disguised as urgency, and emotional manipulation disguised as family duty. When parents start treating your adult life like their personal suggestion box, the only sane response is boundaries, baby. Up first, some parents try to give their kids wings. This one tried to give OP a dowry swap like we're rebooting the Middle Ages with worse lighting. My entitled mom tried to hook me up with my richer cousin even though I'm engaged. Now she's uninvited from the wedding. I, 28 female, got engaged to my boyfriend, 29 male, of 4 years last spring. His parents were thrilled. My dad seemed genuinely happy too, but my mom's first reaction was, "That's nice, honey, but are you sure about this?" I brushed it off as her usual pessimism. My mom has always been hyper-focused on financial stability and status. Growing up, she constantly pushed me toward practical choices rather than following my passions. I figured this was just one more of the same. A couple days later, my fiance and I visited my parents to celebrate our engagement. Dad greeted us with a bottle of champagne and lots of questions about our plans. Mom, on the other hand, seemed distracted and kept steering the conversation toward our financial future. She asked my fiance about his 5-year plan while barely making eye contact. Property values weren't getting any cheaper, she said. He explained our saving strategy and timeline for buying a home, but she just nodded dismissively. Throughout dinner, she made several passive-aggressive comments about his career prospects. I was getting irritated but didn't want to start an argument during what was supposed to be a celebration. The following week, during our regular phone call, Mom casually mentioned that my cousin had just bought his 3rd investment property. She went on about how well he was doing for himself and mentioned he always had a crush on me growing up. I laughed it off and reminded her that it was irrelevant since I was literally engaged. She insisted she was just saying he had really established himself and that smart choices early on make all the difference. Fast forward a couple weeks, and my parents invited us over for a family dinner. When we arrived, I was surprised to see my cousin there. Mom hadn't mentioned he would be joining us. Even more strange, she had arranged the seating so he was right next to me, while my fiance was at the opposite end of the table next to my 8-year-old nephew. I immediately switched seats with my nephew so I could sit next to my fiance. Mom looked annoyed but didn't say anything. The next day she texted me, "Your cousin asked about you after dinner." I replied, "That's nice, but irrelevant since I'm engaged." "Just keeping options open, honey. You never know." I showed the text to my fiance, who was equally baffled. We agreed to ignore it and focus on wedding planning instead. When we called my mom to discuss the venue options, she suggested we take it slow and maybe have a longer engagement. "Your cousin will be back from his business trip in Europe in December. Maybe wait till then." I was so shocked, I just hung up on her. Minutes later, she texted as if nothing had happened, sending venue suggestions for December dates. Over the next few days, Mom sent me links to articles about marriage regrets and rushing into commitment. She also forwarded an email from my cousin showing off his new vacation home. I temporarily blocked her on social media to get some peace. Despite her odd behavior, we went ahead and booked our venue for October. When I called to tell my parents, Dad was excited and asked how he could help. Mom sighed heavily and said, "I guess we'll put it on the calendar." Her lack of enthusiasm was getting harder to ignore. Things escalated when Mom accidentally added me to a group chat with my cousin. I scrolled up to see previous messages where she told him I was having second thoughts about my engagement and shared our wedding date with him, suggesting he might want to keep it open. I took screenshots of everything before leaving the chat. I was furious. I called her immediately to confront her. I demanded to know why she was telling my cousin I was having second thoughts about my engagement. She said that she was just looking out for my financial future and that my fiance didn't have the right connections. When I told her I loved him and we were getting married, she said that love doesn't pay mortgages. She revealed that my cousin had expressed interest in reconnecting with me, and she thought I owed it to myself to consider all options before settling down. I asked how long she had been talking to him about me. She admitted she'd been in contact with my cousin for weeks, trying to create opportunities for us. I told her she was on thin ice regarding any involvement in the wedding if this behavior continued. A week later, my cousin DM'd me, "Hey, your mom said you wanted to grab coffee sometime?" I replied with screenshots of Mom's messages to him. He was mortified and apologized, saying he had no idea I was happy in my relationship and that my mom had painted a completely different picture. He blocked her on everything after that. The final straw came during a family dinner at my aunt's house. My fiance and I were helping set up when my mom cornered him. I overheard her telling him he should step aside if he really loves me, because my cousin could provide a better future. I was beyond furious. The audacity of this woman was absolutely insane. We left immediately, and later I sent her a formal text. "You are officially uninvited from the wedding. Do not contact me or my fiancé again." I blocked her number immediately after sending it and emailed the recording to my dad and a few close family members so she couldn't spin some narrative about us overreacting. I don't regret my decision one bit. My fiancé and I are moving forward with our wedding plans, and it's been so much more peaceful without her input. We've hired security for the venue just in case she tries to show up uninvited. My cousin actually reached out to apologize again and assured me he wants nothing to do with my mom's schemes. He declined his wedding invitation, which we sent before all this drama, and wished us well. As for my dad, he's still planning to walk me down the aisle. He said he respects my decision, even if he wishes things had turned out differently. I never imagined I'd have to uninvite my own mother from my wedding, but I refuse to have someone there who doesn't support our relationship and has actively tried to sabotage it. My fiancé deserves better, and honestly, so do I. My fiancé has been incredibly supportive throughout this whole mess. He says he's marrying me, not my family, and we'll create our own traditions and support system going forward. His parents have been amazing too, checking in on us and offering help with wedding planning to fill the gap left by my mom. I know the wedding will have a cloud hanging over it now, but I'm determined not to let my mom's absence ruin our day. We're focused on celebrating our love with people who genuinely support us, and that's what matters most. This wasn't concern, this was control. Uninviting her wasn't harsh, it was overdue. She practically RVP'd yes months ago to being cut out by behaving like this. It says everything that your cousin was mortified, your fiancé was supportive, your in-laws stepped up, and your dad backed your decision. The only person who thinks your mom's behavior was reasonable is your mom. Final update. It's been 2 months since my last update, and our wedding day has come and gone. I promised a final update, so here it is. After my cousin warned us about my mom's plan to object during the ceremony, we went into full lockdown mode for the wedding. We hired 2 security guards instead of 1 and gave the clear instructions absolutely no one enters without being on the guest list and showing ID. We also made sure our officiant knew to skip the "does anyone object" part entirely. We added password protection to all vendor communications after hearing horror stories about parents canceling services to sabotage weddings. Every time we confirmed a detail with a vendor, we reminded them not to make changes without our password, no matter who called. About a month before the wedding, we discovered my mom had somehow obtained our honeymoon details. The resort manager called to confirm what he called an odd coincidence. Someone with my mom's name had booked the same resort for the exact dates of our stay. We immediately changed destinations completely. It was a hassle and cost us some booking fees, but worth it for the peace of mind. My dad called around this time, claiming Mom had finally accepted reality and wanted to apologize before the wedding. I declined meeting her, but suggested she write a letter if she truly wanted to apologize. No letter ever arrived, which confirmed my suspicion that it was just another attempt to get access to me. 2 weeks before the wedding, an anonymous package arrived at our apartment. Inside was a custom-made family tree with my cousin's name next to mine, connected by heart. Our building's security footage showed one of my mom's friends delivering it. We tossed it in the dumpster without a second thought. Mom then tried a public sympathy approach, posting online about being cruelly excluded from only daughter's wedding. Several relatives who knew the truth called her out publicly with comments like, "Maybe you hadn't tried to bribe her fiancé to leave her," and "You made your bed, now lie in it." She deleted the post, but doubled down in family group chats, claiming I was making the biggest mistake of my life. I left all shared family communication channels after that. As we entered the final week before the wedding, my cousin texted that Mom had bought a white dress. Yes, a white dress to wear to a wedding she wasn't even invited to. He said she was still planning to show up despite everything. We added a 3rd security guard just to be safe. At the wedding rehearsal dinner, my dad attended alone. He seemed genuinely happy for us and more relaxed than I'd seen him in months. He told me Mom was staying with her sister, finally accepting the situation. I was skeptical but appreciated his support. 2 days before the wedding, Mom posted a cryptic social media message. "Some brides need a mother's guidance whether they know it or not." We alerted our security team to be on high alert. The day before the wedding, my cousin followed through on his promise to take Mom fishing at a remote lake 3 hours away. He confirmed she had no cell service there, which gave us some peace of mind. My dad attended the rehearsal and seemed relieved that Mom was occupied elsewhere. Our wedding day was absolutely perfect. The ceremony went without a hitch. My dad walked me down the aisle with tears in his eyes. The security team reported no incidents or attempts by unauthorized people to enter. During the reception, my cousin texted that Mom had figured out his plan about halfway through the day, but by then it was too late. She was stranded at the lake with no transportation since they'd come in his car. He apologized for not being able to make it to the reception, but said he'd taken one for the team. I couldn't help but laugh. The first day of our honeymoon, My dad texted that Mom was flooding his phone with demands to know where we'd gone. He assured us he didn't know our changed location and wouldn't tell her even if he did. We enjoyed our trip in complete peace, with our phones on airplane mode most of the time. When we returned home, we found an elaborate gift basket on our doorstep. The card said, "To the happy couple, from your favorite cousin." Inside was an inside joke gift, an empty fishing tackle box with a note, "For catching and releasing toxic people." It was the first time I genuinely laughed about the whole situation. My dad visited us for dinner a few days later. He shared that Mom had been staying with her sister since the wedding and that he was considering separation after her behavior. I told him I supported whatever decision he made. He seemed lighter somehow, as if he'd finally allowed himself to see the full extent of her toxic behavior. When our wedding photos arrived, they were beautiful, full of joy and laughter, with no drama or tension. I sent one to my cousin as thanks for his help. He responded that Mom was still single if you know any takers. Dark humor, but we needed it. About a week later, Mom attempted to contact me through my work email. The subject line was, "I was right all along." The message contained a news article about my cousin's company going public with the stock price highlighted. I deleted it without reading it further. Her fixation on money and status is just sad at this point. The biggest change came when my dad called to say he'd moved out. Apparently, while packing his things, he discovered Mom had created a shrine-like wall of photos of me and my cousin in their spare bedroom, with wedding magazines and notes about perfect pairings scattered around. He said he should have stood up to our behavior years ago and apologized for not being more supportive from the beginning. I thanked him for being there when it counted most, walking me down the aisle. My cousin sent me a screenshot of Mom still trying to contact him. She's now claiming I'm miserable in my marriage after just a few weeks. He's blocked her on every platform, but she keeps creating new accounts to reach him. We both find her delusions almost comical at this point. We hosted Thanksgiving without Mom this year. It was peaceful, drama-free, and actually enjoyable. My dad brought his new girlfriend, who seemed lovely and down to earth. He looks happier than I've ever seen him in years. We toasted to chosen family and strong boundaries. Just yesterday, I got a text from an unknown number. Obviously Mom. "Your cousin just bought a yacht. Still think you made the right choice?" I replied, "Absolutely. He's taking Dad fishing on it next weekend." Then I blocked the number, changed all of our contact information, and decided this chapter of drama is officially closed. Looking back, I still can't believe my own mother tried to break up my engagement so I could date my cousin for his money. It sounds like the plot of a bad soap opera, not real life. But the experience taught me valuable lessons about setting boundaries and standing up for myself and my relationship. My husband still feels new to say that, and I are happier than ever. We're planning to buy our first home next year. Nothing fancy, just a place we can call our own. It won't be a mansion or a beachfront property, but it will be filled with love and mutual respect, which is worth more than all the investment portfolios in the world. To everyone who supported me through this bizarre journey, thank you. Your comments and messages helped me stay strong when I doubted myself. And to anyone dealing with toxic family members, it's okay to set boundaries, even when it hurts. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is protect your own happiness, even if that means letting go of people you thought would always be in your life. This will be my final update on this situation. We're moving forward with our lives, focusing on building our future together without toxic influences. And yes, we're changing our phone numbers and email addresses. Sometimes a clean break is the best solution. None of this was normal. None of this was loving. And none of this was a mother concerned about her daughter's future. The second you offered a boundary, put it in writing, she disappeared. Because there was never going to be an apology. She wanted access, not accountability. And the family tree with your cousin's name connected by a heart? Ugh, yuck. Your wedding was beautiful because she wasn't there. Your honeymoon was peaceful because she wasn't involved. Your home is stable because you chose a partner, not a puppet master. And now your dad is finding his own peace too. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let us know in the comments below. Up next, just when you thought turning 24 meant your parents would finally treat you like an adult. Apparently, they still see you as their 14-year-old babysitter in training. Am I the a-hole for wanting to spend time with my wife instead of babysitting my little sister? I, 24 male, and my wife recently had our 5-year anniversary. We had planned to go to a nice restaurant, then ride in a hot air balloon, and then go to a lake and relax. I was going to buy her flowers and all. Then, out of the blue, one day before my anniversary, I get a text from my mom demanding me to babysit my sister for a week, while she and my dad go visit my aunt who recently got diagnosed with leukemia. Now, I love my sister. We're 18 years apart, but are still closer than ever. She has a bit of a mental challenge, but otherwise is a pretty normal kid. I was debating whether to say yes, but I didn't want a kid in tow while I was having a date with my wife. So I politely declined and didn't get an answer, so I thought it was okay. The next day, we're at the restaurant when my phone starts buzzing like crazy. I checked it and it's filled with texts from my mom and dad. They're calling me all sorts of things and saying that they showed up at my house only for it to be empty. They're now ignoring me when I write to them and I haven't gotten an answer. Am I the a-hole? Let's see how OP responds to some of the comments. First comment, just to add on. Have your parents pulled something like this before? Or, does your mom get along with your wife? The OP replies, they have once or twice before. That was before I was a working adult and married though. They have a mild relationship. They don't really talk unless needed, but I don't see any hatred. Next person says, a couple of questions here. You had to babysit for a week and your plans with your wife was for a day as per the post. In case you wanted to take care, you could have done that for the rest of the 6 days. Secondly, how is your relationship with your sister? Do you like her and care for her? If yes, taking care of your sister for the rest of the 6 days after the anniversary celebrations would not be difficult. Third, would you ask your parents to babysit your kid in the future? If yes, would you and your wife be okay if they turned down the request in the future? And fourth, did you offer them to take care of your sister post the celebrations? My point of view is that it does not have to be my way or the highway. A middle ground is possible. The OP replies, okay, so I didn't write this on my post, which I apologize, but I also have to work more than half of those days. I love my sister. Probably, but if they say no, that's all right. No, I wasn't really thinking at the time. The OP also adds, my mother wrote, we have to go to your aunt's tomorrow. Watch your sister for a week. Edit. My wife and I have work most of the week too, and my aunt isn't in critical condition. Another edit. Me and my wife have known each other since we were kids and started dating when we were teenagers. Another edit. My sister is currently staying with a family friend who we've known all our lives. The friend has 2 kids who are very close to my sister. The family friend said she wouldn't mind keeping her for the week as she gets a break from her twins and encouraged me to relax. And one more edit. My aunt is not in critical condition. She is doing fine. She also lives far away and it takes a couple of hours to get to her. 3 hours and a little more due to stops and other things, so it takes 4 to 5 hours probably. Mini update. Same post. Date unknown. Update. I've gone over to the friend's house and gotten them food for the kind gesture. I can clearly see that my sister enjoys the twins' company, and the friend doesn't work, so I intend to keep her there. However, the friend informed me that my parents were talking bad about me and my wife in her messages. She told me they were berating me for being a bad son, and that my wife probably convinced me to stay away from an important situation. I intend to speak to them about this once they come back. I don't want to intrude when my aunt has leukemia. The OP is voted not the a-hole. Main update, 2.5 years later. Hello everyone. This is a rather late update, but as I myself hate cliffhangers, I thought it would be good for me to update. So a lot has happened in the past 2 years and I might miss some details. About a month or so after the incident with my parents, I decided to go low contact. This is a hard decision I made after a lot of time thinking and weighing the options. However, after advice from both the comments on this post and my friends, I realized it was for the best. I visited them and laid it all out for them. They weren't happy at all, and safe to say, they said some words that I won't be repeating. My parents have never been abusive, emotionally or physically, but they weren't the most loving. And my wife eventually confessed to me that my parents apparently never really loved her. This came as a shock to me, because while they weren't best friends, I always thought my parents liked her. Nowadays, I really only speak to my parents at family gatherings, or if my sister really wants to spend time with me. This low contact decision did unfortunately decrease the time I spent with my sister, but I made sure she knew that I would always be there for her and that I wasn't cutting her off, but rather our parents. We also found out that my sister has level 1 autism, which has really helped her because we finally knew what she needed and how we could help her. My aunt did unfortunately pass away a little over a year ago as the leukemia took a sudden turn for the worst. Moving on to more happy news, I now have a 3-month-old son. The pregnancy was a bit of a surprise, but brought some joy after my aunt's death. I don't plan on updating any longer if everything stays the same, but if my parents suddenly flip it all on its head, I'll make sure to update. And thank you all for the support. Oh, OP, you sweet summer child. You really thought your parents saying nothing after you declined meant, okay, thanks for letting us know? No, that was the sound of 2 people revving up the guilt trip express. They didn't even have a medical emergency. Your aunt wasn't in critical condition. But sure, Let's weaponize leukemia to get free babysitting. Bold move. Morally questionable, but bold. Cutting contact was the right call. Thoughts? And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.